Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for graphic novels I've recently read through between January into February, and as you can see here there's probably roughly I think 28 overall which I've managed to read through, and though I could be wrong, let's just go through the titles anyway and who I've been enjoying reading. So we've got Bang by Matt Kint, and that's a really good series that it sort of focuses on sort of like a spy-like tale. Of course, we have Neil Adams with Batman versus Ra's al Ghul, and it's also got the character of Deadman, plus members of the Batman family. If it's one thing I still hold to this day is that if it's one thing that I really like about Neil Adams, even though he has passed away, I do actually like his appearance for Ra's al Ghul himself. But if it's one thing that I'd sort of criticize actually in the story, is that the way he actually does the Bat family members, especially Batman's sons, including his real son, they all look like the same image, just copy and pasted and made as this person. That's sort of my only criticism, but apart from that, definitely an interesting story. Now, here's a real good one, which I remember enjoying the singles of this, and I also enjoyed reading the graphic novel of this a second time, and the graphic novel of the story a second time, and that is Fight Girls by Frank Cho. Next, we have Donny Cates with Volume 1 of Vanish, which was surprisingly an interesting series. How can I sort of share the story? You learn about a character who basically becomes a hero in a society, but in the process, we learn that one hero who sort of dies, someone takes his place, and because of him taking his place, he sort of like becomes like a better choice of hero for replacing him. Next, we have Seven Sons, which sort of like delves into, I guess, the popularity of anti-messiahs in a way. And yes, it does involve seven sons, of course, that do make an appearance. There are no girls in this story, but yes, it does center on male characters. Next, we have Little Monsters by Jeff Lemire, Volume 1. Really enjoyed rereading through this again. I'm looking forward to reading through the next volume, which basically finishes off the story. Next, we have Justice League, which is the Brian Michael Bendis. And I still hold to what I say about the Brian Michael Bendis storytelling. No, it's not great in any way, shape, or form, but you know what? It's a good place to look for, or to look at, as how to not do a story for DC Comics. And that includes his terrible stuff that he did with the Superman family. And also members of the Batman family. Next, we have Hitomi, which is a really nice epic story set in a set period of time. It sort of focuses on a female character who ends up with meets up with Yasuke, who's like a black samurai. We get to learn a little more about his past. And through that, we get to see how her mentorship under him plays a part for her starting to become like a person of prominence. Next, we have Gun Honey, which was really interesting, and it's nice to see Dynamite bringing out banger covers, including the gun that she's holding in her hand. Moving into Godzilla versus the Power Rangers. Oh, it's nice that Godzilla is also versing the Justice League. Then we have Chroma. I want to thank Ashon Comics for recommending this on his channel. It was definitely an interesting story. Definitely a lot in there. Now we move into Tim Seeley's Money Shot, which I think Tim Sheridan and Megan Fitzmartin would be perfect to be added onto this title and out of practically DC Comics permanently and put onto this title permanently, because I feel that they would be best suited for this story. Next is You Look Like Death, which is something that connects to the Umbrella Academy story, Shadow Play, and also the daughter of Kato, which is based on Kato's daughter, to which we sort of learned that she's more like an adopted daughter of sorts, but she still wants to reign in her father's stead. Next is Conspiracy, and yes, this is a graphic novel which explores the world of conspiracy and conspiracies. Even though there is a little bit of fictional in there, you might even find a little bit of truth in there too. Next is Knighted, which was actually quite a fun story. I liked reading through Knighted. Next is Fear Case, another Matt Kindt story, which revolves like a case of sorts, and in this case it's sort of like causes people to do terrible things. And yes, there's quite a bit there. We of course have Chosen by Mark Millar, which was really interesting. It's sort of like set on the premise of an anti-messiah type story. Next we have Radiant Pink, Scorched Volume 2, and World of Krypton. It was really nice to read through World of Krypton by Robert Venditti, and it was nice to see Oeming's art on it, even though Oeming's art can vary to what he works on, but he can actually deliver a pretty good story if you definitely want to check out some of his actual storytelling. In some cases, a little bit better than Brian Michael Bendis. I don't know why that is, but it's just something that happens. With Scorched, we sort of like follow through the Spawn universe version of the Justice League. I'd say more like Spawn universe of Justice League Dark, more so than Justice League. And of course, some of the things that happen there, and this one, they actually save a victim of sorts who was sort of like being forced to take on a plague spawn. In the next one, Space Cops Origins. Now, this is actually an Australian graphic novel, and in it, it does actually have a story from someone at my LCS at All Star Comics in Australia. And I did manage to read through. I actually quite enjoyed the little stories, and I liked how it's actually quite a bit of an anthology. I wonder if there'll be a second volume to this, because I think it would be nice to maybe see a second volume. And of course, last but not least, Radiant Pink. Now is come to the time to which I give the ratings of each of the graphic novels. We'll start right back at the beginning of Bang, and we'll go down there. So for Bang, really enjoy Matt Kindt, 8 out of 10. Batman vs. Ra's al Ghul, about a 7.5 out of 10. Frank Cho, Fight Girls, 8 out of 10. Vanish, Volume 1, 8 out of 10. Really enjoyed it. Seven Sons, 7.5 out of 10. Little Monsters. It was really nice to reread through the story again, so a 7.5 out of 10. Justice League by Brian Michael Bendis. I stick to what I said in it in Fool's Gold. Hitomi, really liked it, 7.5 out of 10. Gun Honey, not only do you get to see what's in the picture here, you do actually get to see a little bit more in the story, so I give it an 8 out of 10. Godzilla versus the Power Rangers, 8 out of 10. Chroma, a 7.5 out of 10. It was a little bit above average. Tim Seeley's Money Shot, for what it is and mature content, an 8 out of 10. And this is a place where Tim Sheridan really needs to be on, and also Megan Fitzmartin as well. They do not belong in DC Comics, but they do belong on this. You Look Like Death, a 7.5 out of 10. Shadow Play, 7.5 out of 10. The Kato story, which was actually pretty good, an 8 out of 10. Conspiracy, a 7.5 out of 10. World of Krypton by Robert Venditti, a 7.5 out of 10. Scorched Volume 2, an 8 out of 10. Space Cops Origins, bit of an anthology, but for the overall anthology, I quite enjoyed it. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Radiant Pink, yes, you do happen to have a character in this story that is a lesbian, but they don't just show it all over the bloody place, but they do actually focus on the key story and not their sexuality, which goes to show you can write a story where it's story focused first, then save the sexuality stuff later. An 8 out of 10. Chosen, I do have something on the Chosen trilogy, so I think I might just slightly withhold on this, but what I've read of this one so far, I'll give a 7.5 out of 10. Fear Case, it was really nice to reread this again, to which I will give an 8 out of 10. And last but not least, Knighted, an 8.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.